So without further ado, let's get going on this forum today. We do have our fine moderator, Lance Calloway, who is the chair of our Government Affairs Committee.
Thank you, everybody. So first off, I would like everybody to give a hand to those who have decided to run for office. This isn't just a commitment on themselves, but it's also a huge commitment for their families as they go through these campaigns. And then also once they do become elected, they're going to be devoting a lot of time to our community. So I'd like us all to give them a hand. So today's format, candidates will have 1 minute each for an opening statement. And then we're going to go through questions that have been developed by the Government Affairs Committee. And on those questions, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer. And then we'll wrap it up at the end with a 30-second closure statement by each candidate as well. We have the incredible Vanna White of the Mount Vernon Chamber, Sylvia. She will be holding up the cards that for our candidates, alerting them of the time, when their time's starting to run low. And when she has to show the red sign, and you've got that, and if they keep going, I'll go, wah, wah. That means you're done. So today's questions, as I mentioned, have been prepared by the Chamber Committee, but we also, on the table, if anybody sees those yellow slips of paper, if you have any questions, please put them on there and then raise your hand, and somebody, whether it's Jeremy, Andy, we'll come around and pick them up, and then we'll, identify if we have time at the end, present those questions. We do ask that all of the questions be phrased as a question, not as a statement for the candidates to answer, because each candidate will have the opportunity to answer those questions. So candidates, we ask that please make all your answers about your views and your position. And we also ask that these are nothing directed at your opponent. So I want to thank all of you for participating. And right now, I'd like to ask the candidates for the City Council to come on up. So we're going to be sharing the mic, and so it's going to be up to you if you want to pull it out or keep it in the stand, but we'll be passing it amongst one another. So I'm going to start off with the first of the opening statements with Council at Large candidate Demi Damon.
Oh, wonderful, thank you. Can get started anytime then?
Sylvia, you tell us when to go. Okay.
Great, got the start. Hello, everybody. My name is Demi Damon, and I'm honored to be your candidate for Mount Vernon City Council. I started this campaign because I believe that our community deserves nonpartisan leadership that listens, takes action, and provides transparency. I live these values every day as a licensed massage therapist, a licensed practical nurse, and a civil service commissioner. I grew up out in Conway, met my husband Troy at Mount Vernon High School, and we've been married 29 years, and we have 2 beautiful boys. Through my 34 plus years of working, volunteering, and coaching here in this valley, I see firsthand what the residents' concerns truly are. The need for affordable housing, the need for public safety, and to be financially responsible with our taxpayer dollars. I'm not here to promise you quick fixes, but I am here to work for thoughtful, inclusive, and lasting change. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here today to take care of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. You could pass the mic to Stephanie. And Stephanie, pardon me, but is it Les Jeunesse?
It's Les Jeunesse.
Les Jeunesse.
Les Jeunesse.
Okay. Yes, and you were running for the council at large, and you'll have 1 minute. If you don't mind, pull the mic a little closer so it's very clear. Can you hear it in the back?
Hello.
Okay, good.
Great. Thanks so much to the Chamber for hosting this forum. It's so important that we hear from candidates so we can make an educated vote. I've lived in Mount Vernon for 13 years, and I've been so lucky to serve my community in a lot of different ways. I've been on the Mount Vernon Farmers Market Board of Directors. I founded the Mount Vernon Period Pantry, which provided free, size-appropriate, and high-quality menstrual products to local schools. And I've volunteered countless hours as a Girl Scout troop leader, Lincoln Theater volunteer, MVHS Music Boosters director, and a lot of other places. I'm got my hands in a lot of pies here in Mount Vernon. I've advocated for our immigrant neighbors with community-to-community development and gratefully count some of their leaders as mentors. I'm proud to send my kids to Mount Vernon Public Schools, and I teach in them too as a healthy relationships educator for adolescents and young adults with intellectual disabilities. I really believe in Mount Vernon, and that shows through my history of service. The experience I bring is unique as someone who's run small businesses as well as nonprofits and been a community organizer. We need a city council that represents the people, renters struggling to live in the very community they helped build, wage earners, those who value. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I apologize, but we're just trying to keep everything on time.
No, that's great. I had it
Next up,
coming.
we have Council Ward 1 with position 2 with Anthony DiStefano. Yep.
Hello, my name is Anthony DiStefano, and I'm running for Mount Vernon City Council, Ward 1, Position 2. I work for the state of Washington. I work for the Department of Transportation, and my experience in the past is that I've worked with tribal governments in Alaska. I worked in spill response, a lot of environmental things, a lot of different engineering projects. And I found that, for the most part, my working life that I've enjoyed the most is working in the nonprofit sector. I believe that we have an opportunity here to bring as much participation from the community into the processes that we have that are upcoming in order to address some very serious concerns that we all have. And I would like to help you facilitate that in any way possible. So I appreciate your time here. I'd like to thank the Chamber and everybody that's attending.
Great. And we're moving on. We've got Randy West, also for position 2.
Okay, good afternoon. It's good to see everyone. Thank you to Andy, thank you to Lance, thank you for the members of the Chamber of Commerce. This is a good group, and it's good to get to know everyone here. I've been a resident of Mount Vernon for about a decade now, and I've raised a son here. He's a sophomore in college now, so it's amazing how much free time you have once your son goes off to college. So I've worked at the federal level, the state level, and interested in the local level as well. I currently work for the state of Washington DOH, Department of Health. But we have an opportunity here. Responsible leadership is what I hope to continue in Mount Vernon. I think we're doing a good job, but we need to stay focused, especially with the federal challenges that are probably going to be happening. And then local and then state-wise, we have challenges as well. So we just need to be responsible with our decisions and the direction that we're going.
Okay,
It's good to meet everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to Council Ward 2, position 2. We have Hannah Oliver.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah. Like he said, I'm running for Ward 2, Position 2. I grew up here in Mount Vernon. I've lived here for almost 30 years now. Growing up, we didn't have a whole lot, and it was really the community that came together to support me and my family. And now I'm running because I really want to give back to the folks that did so much for me. I have a bachelor's in political science, a master's in teaching. My endorsement is in secondary education, in social studies and fine arts. I've worked here in Mount Vernon School District. I've worked for Cedar Woolley School District. I've also worked for Habitat for Humanity here, and I've done a lot of work supporting the community. Right now, I'm on the board of Skagit Gleaners, and I run our community garden out in Burlington. We've provided about 2,000 pounds, I think a little over 2,000 pounds now over the last 3 seasons. Of food for folks in the community. I'm also mayor appointed to the Mount Vernon Arts Commission as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And now moving on to our last candidate and Council Ward 2, position 2, Adam Pearson.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Adam Pearson. I'm a husband, a proud father of 3, and a proud 5th generation resident of Mount Vernon. And I'm running for city council because I feel deeply invested in helping our community thrive. And right now, I feel like we're in a bit of a pickle. We have a $6 million budget shortfall. We have a affordable housing crisis. We have under-resourced public safety departments. And I've spent 20 years leading businesses, budgets, and teams. I'm a local housing provider. I'm a volunteer with our downtown association. I'm a graduate of our Mount Vernon Citizens Police Academy. And I'm a city council appointed advisor on housing, land use, transportation, and economic development. Importantly, city council, the role is nonpartisan. And I am running as nonpartisan. And I look forward to representing all of Mount Vernon. And I hope to be part of the solution. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for your interest, your engagement, and look forward to the conversation.
Well, thank you, all of the candidates. All right, going on to the first question, and we're going to, I guess I did. All right, let's give a little better round of applause. My apologies. All right, now, city council members have a lot to learn and an enormous amount of details about the city-related information that you're going to be looking, hopefully, to take over in the next few months. And how have you prepared yourself as a candidate to learn as much as possible about the challenges and the opportunities for a newly elected council member to absorb? And this time we're going to start off with Stephanie. Okay. Do you need me to repeat the question, Stephanie? Okay.
Thank you.
If anybody does need the question repeated when it gets to them, please let me know.
Thank you. I have been attending city council meetings and frankly, most local government meetings. I think that the school board doesn't like to see me coming at this point. But I watch them on Zoom, I attend when I can. I've been endorsed by 3 sitting city council people who I've been so grateful to have access to. They've let me pick their brains. And I'm a natural learner, so I'm somebody who gets really invested in the material. I have a deep bench of folks that I trust to give me their solid opinions, and I'm excited. I'm excited to learn and grow more along with the city.
Thank you. Now we're going to be moving on to Anthony.
Thank you. I also been endorsed by 3 city council members, and I had been watching a lot of the meetings on Zoom and reading transcripts. I've been trying to go back as far as I can. I hope by the election that I'll be at least 10 years back. I find in union contracts and the like that I've been a part of, that the longer you see where changes happen and what the change was is actually more important sometimes than the change itself that happens. So it's important to have a deep, comprehensive understanding. I also ascribe a lot to the Strong Towns philosophy. I like what they have to say, so I listen to that a lot, and I do a lot of readings as much as I can. And also reaching out to a lot of the community organizations and partnerships that have to work with the city in order to facilitate the things that they want to have happen. So we have a lot of very interesting and amazing projects that are in scope right now and that are taking root, and I try to learn as much as I can from each of those people who invest the most time and most efforts to make our city better.
Great. And moving on to you, Randy.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yes, in terms of basically the thing I like about and what partially made me want to run is you folks are our neighbors, right? I think of Mount Vernon City Council. This is a group of neighbors. So I've been talking to my close neighbors and and then you just branch out from there, so that circle kind of gets a little bit bigger, and then you find out what people are interested in. And then, as Anthony mentioned, luckily I work in IT, but luckily we do have the ability to look at the calls from before. Look at the meetings from before, look at the things that people are interested in. So it makes it easier in terms of, I hope you agree, but it makes it easier in terms of finding out what's at the front of people's minds, right? And then it's just a matter of what's the common sense solution to that? I can't promise anything. I can't make any promises today, but I can tell you that I will do the research that's necessary in order to represent the citizens of Mount Vernon.
Thank you, Randy. And now we're going to be moving on to Hannah.
Thank you. I am a huge nerd and I love learning. So throughout this whole process, I've been meeting with tons of community leaders and community organizations. Yesterday, I was at Community Action's Food Distribution Center out in Cedar Woolley. But there is a lot of really amazing work going on. And with the issues with the budget that we're going to be having over the next few years and the issues that we will have, we all need to work together. So I've been spending a lot of time meeting with these community organizations, meeting with our city council members and our legislators. I'm endorsed by 3 city council members. I'm endorsed by 2 of our state legislators, and I've been talking with them a lot about how the city can work more closely with the state. And I'm endorsed by our member of Congress as well. So I am super proud to be a nerd and I love learning. If there's anything after today, if you're like, oh, I really wish these candidates knew this, please reach out to me. I imagine other candidates as well, but yeah, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. And now, wrapping it up, Adam.
Well, thank you. I primarily learn by doing and getting out and building relationships with people. I think it was probably 7-8 years ago I started doing that within City Hall just out of interest. It led me to invest personally in a building in downtown that needed a ton of work. And I had to walk into the planning department, and luckily I had relationships, and it's helped me navigate and learn a lot about, giving me a lot of perspective about how city staff see things and what their jobs are and stuff like that. Then I got interested in how we police in our community. How do we actually do that? What's our philosophy? And I rode along with officers. I booked a criminal into jail. I sat with 911 dispatch and listened to what happens when we're all asleep at night. It just gives you so much more perspective and an appreciation for the great work that our public safety departments do. I was asked to be an advisor for the comprehensive plan. And so I'm working with our builders and affordable housing and agencies and all these people to craft what are the policies and goals that will guide the next 20 years of growth in Mount Vernon, and that's how I've been preparing.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to the successes of this. Oh, pardon me. That's my fault. I'm Dimmy. I apologize. We got to the end here, and I can tell Dimmy will keep us all in line.
Well, I am a coach, so that's
we go.
relevant. Okay, are we ready? Okay, so when I first decided that I wanted to run for this, that's when I'm a little bit like Hannah too. I am a big nerd, and so I started my research then and there. So I've been regularly attending city council meetings and committee meetings, and sometimes those committee meetings can be 2 to 4 hours long, but super informative. And between those 2, it helps you to kind of stay on track of what the council members are learning and what information they're giving. I also have interviewed some of the heads of different departments so that I can understand how that works along with the nonprofit organizations, because like we have said, we are really been in a crisis, so we need to learn how we can all come together, nonprofits and our city, to make things better, because we are facing some big challenges, and I think I speak for all of us up here. We're all ready to dig in and start making some big differences here. So, and most importantly for me is having coffee hours with many of the concerned residents and stuff out there, that I want to hear what their concerns are, what their needs are. So all of these together have helped me hopefully move forward, so I have a good foundation.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start next with Anthony. Anthony will be taking the helm on the success of businesses in our area is tied to the policies and plans of the city. What would you do to encourage businesses and support the local business climate?
That is a great question. I think the city does so much already, and it's really heartening to see a lot of the development that's happened. We've been very fortunate that the flood designation has been lifted from, say, the downtown area, and that allows for a lot more investment because of the lack of, you don't have to have as much resources tied up into protection and insurance for that. what I would be mostly encourage is one of my core fundamental beliefs is that housing is economic development. I believe that housing, being able to have workers and people able to live and thrive comfortably is a way for businesses to be able to have the resources available to also thrive in tandem. And that's the whole point. We have to raise up together, rising tide raises all boats. So one of the encouragements I would have is making sure that when we have development and that we make sure that we're as working together as efficiently as possible. And I would like to encourage that as much with, along with housing, that we also have an economic development component to it as well.
And yes, I do have fun making that.
No, it's good.
All right.
I was expecting
And now
Price is
we're
Right.
moving on. We've got Randy.
Okay, so yes, and especially with the Chamber of Commerce forum here, everyone understands that one of my goals is the public-private partnerships that was talked about at the very beginning. Those are a good way for smaller towns to encourage the business environment and the social environment at the same time. Those I've seen them being done effectively in different communities, and I've lived all across the United States, from Hawaii to Maine, Florida to Washington, and everywhere in between. So yes, usually public-private partnerships I think are a good goal, and then when the businesses succeed, usually the town succeeds, right? And it's usually the inverse, sadly, is what normally happens as well. So I think it's a partnership. And encourage zoning that's responsible, that's reflective. Yes, environment is something that we care about in Western Washington, but is it responsible? So
Sorry, Randy.
yeah,
So,
I just wanted to hear you say that.
I know. Okay, now we're moving on to Hannah.
Thank you. So I agree with Anthony that housing is really, really important to local businesses. I would also like to add transportation. If people can't move around the city properly, they can't work jobs, they can't show up to businesses, they can't get the resources that they need. So transportation is really important to me. Something that I've been following really closely is the partial bridge closure here downtown. That's going to happen this next year. That is going to significantly impact downtown businesses. And I would like to work with folks who own businesses downtown to really support them and make sure our downtown is as vibrant as it is and continues to grow. Through the Arts Commission, we've been looking through a lot of things on how to support local businesses. We're about to paint a big mural downtown, which is really cool. We're looking into turning downtown into a creative district as well, which can open the city up to grants and more funding from the state. Thank you.
Okay, and Adam.
I think any business owner in here will say that the most valuable asset that they have is their people. And I believe that probably the bedrock or the foundation for our community is, can those people come to work and be safe? So public safety is number one. I believe number two is housing. Can people live in close proximity to where they work? Can they afford to do so? We do not have enough housing in this community. That's a pretty broadly agreed fact, I believe. So that I've done the hour commute back and forth before. It's not good on your mental health, your physical health, your watch, or your wallet. And so housing and public safety. I would also say that as a city, we need to start realizing that we're in a competitive environment for businesses, and we need to ask ourselves, why should businesses want to move here, and what are the policies, the incentives in place to help them thrive?
Great. If we can pass the mic down to Demi. And again, candidates, if you need me to repeat the question, please don't hesitate to ask.
No, I think I'm okay. Great. So I agree with all of our local businesses right now that are thriving. I think it's important to stay in support with them, make sure we maintain our infrastructure, public safety, so that we have the streets and the neighborhoods to attract more people. but also the same thing to increase economic development, like our C2, rezoning, so that we can have housing with retail, all bringing some of that into it, so that it's not just one area that we're looking to attract. We need to be more competitive. We need to kind of think a little bit more outside the box, bringing in transit and doing some of these other methods where we're joining forces more together, so that the businesses that are here are truly supported, and then bringing in new businesses, so that we're relying a little bit more on tax base and not so much on property taxes. That would be where I would like to go with that.
Great. And we'll conclude this with Stephanie.
So when I first moved to Mount Vernon, I had a toddler and a newborn, and I live up on the hill on 10th Street, and I had to walk to the hospital to get a cup of coffee. That was the only place I could go that was within walking distance. I didn't want to haul 2 kids in my car just for a cup of coffee. And I think mixed use development is the key to safer, cleaner, more walkable communities. And I would love to see us change our zoning to include more mixed use buildings. We have 2 major employers in this city, which are the hospital district and the public school. Lots of those people don't want to maintain yards. They don't have big families. They can happily live in affordable apartments, and housing is the bedrock of any kind of economic future for Mount Vernon. We have to supply people with the affordable housing that they need, so that they can continue to build up our community as wage earners.
Great. Thank you very much. And so we're going to move to Randy. We'll start off with this next question. Mount Vernon's quality of life depends on safe neighborhoods and strong community services. What investments or policies would you champion to strengthen public safety, ensure the adequate behavioral health services are available and utilized?
Yep, certainly. Okay, so the folks in blue are firefighters we all depend on. That's a community resource where they need to be invested in properly. Same with the police force. The Mount Vernon Police Force is something that I'm proud of. I think it's a very responsible force, and I think they do good work, considering their limitations in terms of funding and manpower. But yes, we need to invest in both of these. We also, the community policing, that's something that's also visible in Mount Vernon, is the community policing, and it's I think very effective. So all 3 of those need to be acknowledged and funded. And then, of course, the school boards, that's kind of a different race, but that's something that we also look at as keeping the community healthy.
Okay, thank you. And Hannah, same question.
Thank you. So we do need more beds for folks who are homeless. We need more beds for folks who are going through mental health struggles. We need more beds for folks who are in active addiction. And that is all true, and I know that there's a lot of organizations working towards that, and I fully support that. And I would like to add that when people think about public safety or behavioral health, a lot of times people think about like laws or, I don't know, jails or things like that. But what I would really like to point out is that affordable housing is really important when it comes to mental health struggles, substance abuse, access to resources of all kinds, access to transportation, to education, to a better life. All of these things can prevent struggles from happening before they start, especially in our youth. So I would really like to focus on the prevention part first.
Okay, Adam?
Do you mind repeating the question?
Yeah, no problem. So, what investments or policies would you champion to strengthen public safety and ensure adequate behavioral health services are available and utilized?
All right, so we know that our police and fire are understaffed, as you've heard. Within the police department, which I know better, no K-9 unit, no traffic enforcement for a long time, just got it back, no proactive policing. As these roles and people retire, these things kind of went away to the wayside, and I fully support funding of our police and our fire. When it comes to homeless and mental health, I totally agree with Hannah. We need more housing, absolutely. We also need services, and so like within the police department, for example, we have 4 or 5 iOS social workers who go out and engage with the community with dignity and respect, but also with accountability, and provide services to people experiencing homelessness. But they can't do it alone. We need our partners through North Star. I would totally double down on the partnerships with our other cities in the county, as well as the social service agencies who are doing the really important work on the ground every day of helping people get the help that they need.
Great. And going down to Demi, please.
Okay, yes, I agree. As a civil service commissioner, I see every day the struggles that both our police and fire deal with just in getting qualified candidates and retaining them. But I am also a champion for our integrative outreach program and our nurse practitioner program, because they do come out there, they do work alongside with most people that are experiencing homelessness. And I think how we're all work together, especially with other nonprofits, this is a big step forward. And I think if we can continue to build on all of that, that would be extremely helpful. We have to have some sort of an impact for those people that have behavioral health or lower income that need somewhere to go. We need to partner with them and come alongside them and provide them with that first steps, that transitional housing, those pallet shelters. We need to walk alongside them and provide them the hope and the challenges that they have. That's where we can come together, and for our community to come together and support one another.
Great.
And I am done.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And going to Stephanie.
So when I sat down with Police Chief Christman, I wanted to let him know that I was so impressed with his commitment to our immigrant neighbors, regardless of their documentation status, and his commitment to making sure they feel safe to call for help when they need it, whether they're involved in a domestic violence situation, they are in active addiction, they're unhoused, or they need fire EMS services or police services. I think that that's something we need to continue to focus on to make sure that all of our neighbors are well resourced. Housing is, again, the bedrock of that. People need to have a house, a home to come home to. Otherwise, it's a cascade of other problems. We've got a housing crisis that leaves places like the West Winds Motel as the only no barrier shelter in our city, really. So I think more robust support services that are targeted at the populations that need them most, and partnering with existing nonprofits are really the way to go.
Great. And to you, Anthony.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of what's been set up here, but the thing that we really are talking about this question is that we already have services available. No one knows how to get to them. That's very difficult. I work a lot in outreach advocacy for addicts, and to get somebody who is in active addiction, who wants housing, who wants to get clean, who wants to stay away from the life that they've been forced into due to circumstances, and in most cases, there's a very difficult path for them to get to that place. You have to start with treatment, detox, and you go to treatment, you have to get your medication stabilized, and then there's housing. And once you get in that system, there is a pathway to get there. So one solution I could see, and I would like to explore this, is that Mount Vernon already has access to a lot of services that are available through the state, mostly through nonprofits, but we need caseworkers. We need people who have direct one-to-one communication with the person, because you just get kicked over as a person. Okay, they're your problem now. And when you don't have that, you're asking somebody who has often not a really good handle on how they're even going to do things day to day, and asking them to manage their own life, that they need help. We can have somebody help them with that, and I believe the city can afford some kind of support with that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So we are now going to move on to a question and a discussion that is really important going into this election season. As the city is facing a significant budget shortfall, and I think it was already been mentioned, $6 million, and for the 2026 year. The city levy on November's ballot will help balance the budget. The question to you is, do you support the passage of the levy? Why or why not? And if it doesn't pass, which services would you consider reducing in order to meet the budget? And so we're going to start this question off with Hannah.
I do support the levy, but I think we're gonna have to go beyond that to really support the folks who live here. There's gonna need to be a lot of collaboration between the city and local nonprofits and organizations. There's gonna be a lot of collaboration between the city and the state government, the city and the federal government. There's just gonna need to be a lot of creative solutions, people working together, folks going above and beyond, because that's really what we need to do to protect our folks here in Mount Vernon.
Thank you. And moving on to Adam.
So the $6 million budget gap represents, I think, about 17% of the annual operating budget in Mount Vernon. Like, it's a big, big number. There was mention of the levy lid lift. It will fill some of that gap. I do support it. I believe it's more of a reset. No one likes a tax increase, but it's a little bit more of a recalibration for taxes that were not generated in prior years that could have been. Historically, revenues only come from property taxes. And I think long term, we have to develop a commercial sales tax base that can grow the top line revenue. Because the fact of the matter is, cities have massive fixed costs, and costs are only rising. We have commitments that we build infrastructure we have to maintain. We have to focus on growing the top line revenue in this city, not on the backs of our residents, but through commercial sales tax activities, through the increase in property tax value from developing mixed use in our commercial zones. We have to focus on growth, not decline.
Thank you. And we'll go down to Demi, please.
Great, thanks. So I too support this levy lid lift that's coming, just because I believe as a civil service commissioner, I see this this initiative coming through will be helping specifically police, fire, and parks, and all of those are very understaffed. Right now, it would create 6 police officers, 1 per year for the police, and also the same for the fire department. And for the Parks Department, it's going to help utilize some of our capital projects, some of our aging trails and playgrounds, those things that really mean a lot to us and create the core of what our city is responsible for. Public safety and parks, I think, is important. Beyond that, I think that there are other outlets that we should be encouraging and looking after. Same thing, economic development, doing other things besides relying every year so much on our property taxes. But if we start investing into our economic development and doing mixed use, I think that we can get a better plan forward.
Thank you. And we have Stephanie.
I do support the levy. I realize that we need more money, and I agree with Adam that our tax structure isn't working for Mount Vernon. Nobody likes to hear it. But progressive tax helps the majority and doesn't penalize the minority like regressive tax structures do. I also think that it's important to listen to the people who head these departments. I talked to Fire Chief Harris, and he's very keen on the idea of a Skagit County Fire District.
Mm-hmm.
They trade a lot of services with Burlington, which is primarily commercial, whereas Mount Vernon is primarily residential. And instead of going through all of the trouble of administrating those swaps, we could instead have a fire district that works for everyone. That would reduce administrative costs, reduce building costs potentially. I think it's just really important that we listen to the people who are working these jobs every day and see what direction they would like to go in.
Anthony?
Thank you. I agree with a lot of what's said up here. The housing levy I support. The one clear thing is that when you're trying to balance a budget, it's cheaper to pay someone overtime, time and a half, than it is to hire a new person. And we often, through the decades, through the state, local levels, we see that shrinking of departments will save budgets. And that's what's happened. We're dealing with the consequences. So when you have a bunch of people working overtime, like our fire and police, it gets hard. It's hard on them, it becomes hard in the community, and it's difficult to be efficient. The one thing I'd like to point out is that we do rely, as Adam said, a lot on property taxes. And in 2024, we permitted 23 units total in Mount Vernon. And 20 years ago, I think we did 10 times as much. So we're going to increase our tax base and our ability to find funding by encouraging more development, and mixed use development and the like is also going to be good. But we need to grow together in order to be able to get stronger. And it's gonna be challenging, but I think we can do it with what we have.
And Randy, same question.
And, okay, so in concept, I do support the levy. However, I do want to take a harder look at the assumptions behind it. Because, not very long ago, we assumed that the state government and the federal government would be helping us. And I think that those assumptions are probably not wise in today's environment. So I do want to take a look at it. I do support the concept, but I do want to take a look at what the assumptions are behind it and make sure it's aligned with what the real environment is.
All right. I actually have one real quick question for you before we go to the closing. How many of you think the Seattle Mariners are going to make it to the World Series?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Priorities here, people. All right. So, what I'd like to do right now is we're going to have your closing statement, and we're going to start with Adam, and you'll have 30 seconds to final thoughts.
Well, I'd like to just start by saying thank you to the Chamber, thank you to the Skagit Table, thank you to all of you again for your interest and engagement in these topics in our city. I want to give a special call out to community action, because as we sit up here talking about what we think should happen for the city, organizations like theirs are out there doing the good work of societal repair each and every day and getting people the services and access that they need. So thank you, Bill, Liz, Iris, everyone here from there. Other than that, if you'd like to learn more about me, adamfrommountvernon.com or @adamformv on Instagram, Facebook.
Okay. We will pass that down to Demi, please. And while they're doing that, I want to say thank you. You guys have all been great in regards to directly addressing the questions.
Thank you. Yes, I just also want to thank the Mount Vernon Chamber for this forum today and for all of us to get together. I would like to thank Skagit Table for the yummy food, which I hope to eat soon. And then also to Community Action for the sponsor. I recently had a tour with them, and I'm so humbled by what they do, and I can't wait to get my hands in and volunteer with them. As far as serving Mount Vernon, I will have the same passion and drive to serve the city of Mount Vernon I do with every role in my life. So I look forward to educating myself and hopefully becoming part of Mount Vernon City Council. So thank you.
Thank you. And Stephanie.
Okay, be fast, Stephanie. I want to thank everyone here who participated in the democratic process today. It can be really easy to check out, especially in times of division. And I want you all to keep resisting that impulse and keep showing up. It's really important now more than ever. Our community is vibrant and diverse, and it's changing, and it can change for the better. It can change to support more of us. We can house more people. We can work together to keep our neighbors from being disappeared. And I'd love to work together with you all toward that goal.
Thank you. Anthony? You killed it there. 30 seconds on the nose.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all. The fact that we're all here is so meaningful. The fact that people are coming together is what's going to make us face this austerity that we're going to be getting from the state. We're seeing the reports come out of budgetary shortfalls. We're going to see that cascade throughout. Do not lose hope. We do have solutions available to us. And the more that we work together, as Stephanie and everybody up here is saying, the more that we connect, the stronger we have a community. And community is the only way we're going to be able to push forward through this. So embrace each other and embrace this process, and thank you.
Thank you. Randy.
Okay, well, thank you for the invite. I appreciate that, Andy and Lance and the members here and the community as well. This is a great town. Mount Vernon's an exciting place, even in rough times, right? So we do have a good future. We just need to steer it in the way that's the best for the best way that it can be. We need to look at things with our eyes open in terms of what sounds like a great idea. Let's look at what's really behind it and what's it really going to cost in terms of other trade-offs we have to make. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hannah.
Thank you so much for inviting all of us here today, and thank you to Community Action, some of my absolute favorite people on the planet, either work there or on the board. So thank you so much. I am running because it's really important that we have strong people on our city council that are ready to go above and beyond and have been going above and beyond for our residents for years. I would absolutely love all of your support. Again, if there's anything that you would like a future city council person to know, please reach out.
Great. Let's give them a hand, and while they're, if I can have the school district board candidates come forward. Okay, well, thank you very much. We've got, starting on the far right here, we've got James Stewart. He's with he's for the director of District 2. And next to him, the challenger is Christopher Gudger Rains. I got it right the first time when I was with you. Moving on to Director District 4, we have Sammy Solano Rivera and Wendy Ragusa. And so, as we did with the last group of candidates, you're going to have a 1-minute opening statement. And so, James, we're going to start with you.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is James Stewart. I'm a local business owner just off Pine Street, bottom of Williamson Newley. Last year we brought about a dozen high-paying jobs in sales, service, and tech to Mount Vernon. I'm also a proud father of 2 daughters, one at LaVenture, one at Jefferson. I've got a niece at the high school, a niece at Centennial, and a goddaughter at Washington Elementary. I am the president of the Jefferson Parent Group. My wife and I reestablished that parent group a few years ago, going through the process with the federal government to get the 501c3 paperwork up, and running the Jefferson Parent Group's efforts for the playground beautification project a couple years ago, if you may have seen that. I've been actively engaged with our schools and our community my entire life. My daughters are 5th generation Mount Vernon School District students. My sister was a Mount Vernon High School teacher for 10 years, Amy Fox. Through and through my entire life, I've been here in the North 2 counties. I deeply love this city, and I'm here to help serve and broach the communication gaps with parents.
Thank you. And moving on to Christopher.
Hi, my name is Christopher Gudger Rains. 4 years ago, we moved to Mount Vernon, and we didn't know anybody, and we came to the school district. My daughter started at Mount Baker, and she's not afraid of anybody, but she's very quiet. And so we watched the school district and that school particularly embrace her. And it was just coming out of COVID, so we didn't know what to expect. And they got her hooked up with Avid, they got her hooked up with mariachi. And if you saw the Mariners, she was in the back playing the vihuela. And my son's gotten hooked up with the orchestra. His daughter and my son play orchestra together, so yes. So I serve out of gratitude for what the school district has done for us, and I've seen it at its best, and I want that best to be for every student. Thank you.
And Sammy.
It's a pleasure meeting you all. My name is Samuel Solano, and I haven't been in the community as long as these folks because I'm a recent graduate, but I grew here all my 18 years. I was part of various organizations in the high school graduating, like the Mount Vernon debate team, Mount Vernon teen court, and the Kiwanis Club as well, and Key Club, which participated with the Kiwanis Club. And I'm just very grateful to be running for this. I do this for the paraeducators, teacher, and staff. Through like various years, I've seen like my perspective is very fresh. I went to various classes during my years in Mount Vernon High School. I saw how teachers were. I saw how staff was, and I know what these students are thinking. You know, I was just a student, so I feel like that's my keen perspective in this race, and I hope I can, change the school board in a way.
Thank you. And moving on to Wendy.
Hello, I'm Wendy Ragusa, and I'm actually running for re-election to the school board, District 4. I am a third-generation Bulldog, fourth-generation Mount Vernon resident. I have worked for Skagit Regional Health for 20 years as a fundraiser and donor development planner. I also, together with my husband Roger and my sister Krista, help direct the operations at our family business, Wells Nursery. So in 2017, I was appointed to the board. I've been elected twice, and I'm currently serving as the board's chair. I believe that strong schools are the heart of the community. As you have seen in the panel before and here, we have some very strong leaders that have been Mount Vernon Bulldogs. My goal is to continue the work. We just completed a strategic plan, a very robust and bold plan that I would like to continue working on. So thank you very much.
Great. And now we're going to start with the first question. We'll go to Christopher. And as school board members, you have a lot to learn and an enormous amount of information to take in to be successful in your position. How have you prepared yourself as a candidate to learn as much as possible about the challenges, the opportunities that are facing the district and how you may make an impact? Wendy, could you pass the mic?
Sure.
Yes. First of all, you have to be humble in what you don't know, and you have to be curious about what you need to know. If you don't know, you have to ask. So you have to form good relationships with the people who do know. I've sat with the finance director to learn about what all the title funds mean. I've sat with the special ed coordinator, did a tour of the high school, so I understood that part. If you don't know something, you have to ask, and you build the relationships, you get curious, and you talk to the people who do know. And when you form the relationship, you learn a lot of things. And when you have enough information, then you can choose. You can decide what's best for everyone. So in addition, you have to do a lot of study. We get a lot of stuff that comes to us every time we, in preparation for a board meeting. There's lots of warrants, lots of checks to figure out. So I take a cross section of all the checks that we pay and I research. And I find out we pay this much money to the milk guy. We pay this much money to therapists. And we have lots of relationships in town. So you get curious, you ask questions, you ask board members, you ask parents, you ask teachers, you ask a lot of people. You just do a lot of asking.
Okay, Sam.
Can you please repeat the question again?
Yeah. In preparing for your role on the school board, how have you prepared yourself as a candidate to learn as much about the challenges and the opportunities facing the district?
Great. Perfect. All right. Well, firstly, when I got out of high school, I started asking teachers. I started, communicating with various organizations, asking what type of problems or questions they have regarding the school board, as well as Dr. Vigaro. We had a meeting earlier this weekend. He told me my responsibilities and my roles that was going to happen if elected, either one of us. And I wanted to talk to more families and students because I feel like they're the foundation of the schools. Without their knowledge or without their input, this doesn't really go far. I mean, yes, it's very good to talk to, like, the tippy top of everything, but we need to talk to the foundation of everything. We need to talk to the students that are struggling and get everyone's input, because I feel like that's what's lacking, and I hope to do that.
Thank you. Wendy, your turn.
Yes, thank you. Well, I've been on the board for 8 years, but I'm a lifelong learner, and you can always learn new things. I think it's so important to continue to listen. What Christopher and Sammy both said about asking questions. We have an amazing district office staff that is always available to answer questions. You've got a number of stakeholders. I have taxpayers, voters, parents, staff, and at the center of it all, students. So you need to be open and accessible to listen and ask questions. I think our organization is incredibly well prepared. It is a lot of work, but if you believe in the work and you're committed, it's joyous work. And you see the results as you hand diplomas to the recent graduates.
Great, thank you. And we're going to move down here to James.
I think this question highlights one of the key problems, which is we've made the complex complex. My first approach to anything I'm learning throughout my career and my life is how do I make the complex simple, and how do I identify root cause? But if our top candidates and active members of the community are being asked a question about how they're going to learn such a complex and convoluted system to do the job, how are we ever going to communicate that to the students and parents and like? With that being said, I've attended hundreds, at least dozens, of school board meetings over the last couple of years. I watch, I learn, I've read the budgets, I've familiarized myself with federal, state, and local funding, and the applications and allocation rules of that money coming in. It's great to say we have a top-line budget. Understanding the restrictions and the sliding block puzzle about how to move that around is key. And finally, as a parent and part of a parent group and the parent organizations, listening to, as Sammy mentioned, those that are directly impacted, the parents and students, and the teachers and the staff, is how we learn what we need to do.
Great, thank you, everyone. Okay, this question will start with Sam. Sam, what do you know, there's been a lot of talk in our state and our country about our achievement levels. What do you see as the biggest challenges to improving student achievement in the Mount Vernon schools? And how would you work to ensure all students, regardless of their background, have the resources and support they need in order to succeed?
That's perfect, actually. Wacom recently did a thing where their school board went out to outreach to families in need, students that were struggling in their school system, not attending class, skipping, a lot of struggling that was doing in home, and they implemented a plan where they would go out, outreaching to houses, to students, making sure they were okay in their home, not only in their school, because that's something that, I feel goes overlooked a lot. We only focus, when students are in school, we should also be outreaching, and I feel like that's something that's we need to help these students, because like he mentioned before, there's a lot of problems that's going on countrywide, and like their success, there's a lot of decrease in this school board, student knowledge, which I feel that has gone overlooked as well, which I'd love to continue talking, but my time has run out.
Okay. Wendy, same question to you.
Yeah, we do have a system in place for outreach. The expectations are very high for schools during that, 6-hour day. And it is so important for us to have good staff in the right places. Again, we, as school board directors, are at a strategic level. We help guide the superintendent, and in that, I'm repeating myself here, but we have a new strategic plan that focuses just on that. It is a sense of belonging, safety, access, and opportunity. And I really feel strongly that this school year kicks off those action plans to make that happen. And it's just, you've got to roll up your sleeves and get the work done. And I think we're a very collaborative team that does meet with their stakeholders and get the pulse of what the needs and dreams and wishes are from our students and our families. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move down there to James.
Last year, maybe the year before, I was invited to be part of a listening group where a number of parents across the district were brought in for a federally funded study. Sitting in that group, we had one of the mothers from the Immigrant Workers PAC sitting there. And we were talking as a group about some of the challenges. My niece was a senior in high school and had mentioned that she knows there's resources available, but she'd gone directly to family about how to get in college, what are college programs like. And I'm sitting there thinking, her dad's a CEO of a company up in Linden. I'm a tech worker. She's coming to us and she has these resources. If this is the gap that someone with everything at her fingertips has, how is a family from the Immigrant PAC going to even navigate these programs? When they're talking about addiction and the unhoused, one of the key things they said was even knowing how to start accessing the resources available are key. So we need to actually figure out how to get these in the hands of the students and not just green check marks on slides.
Chris?
Could you repeat the question? I want to make sure.
Yep. What do you see as the biggest challenges to improving student achievement in the Mount Vernon schools, and how would you work to ensure all students, regardless of their background, have the resources and support they need to succeed?
First of all, we need a strong equity lens because kids come into the district at different levels. I'm a two-income household. That's far different from someone who's in foster care. They have lots of challenges that precede their ability to learn. And so we need a strong structure that addresses students' needs, both as groups and as individuals, so that they can find their own success. We need some alignment. Alignment between our elementary and our middle school and our high school. Also, as far as the achievement gap is concerned, we have lots of structures in terms of alternative learning environments so that kids who are falling off can be found and can have another chance at graduating. It's important to have high standards, so I think our strategic plan puts high standards with lots of metrics in place. And so as we're implementing that, we're going to implement a lot of metrics to evaluate. Thank you.
Great. And Wendy, we'll go with this next question, starting with you. Why should parents choose the Mount Vernon Public Schools for their children over private or home schools or other options for learning?
Opportunity. We have a just wide breadth of different learning environments for students. You know, Mount Vernon Schools is an umbrella for, of course, our public schools, our Skagit Academy, Aspire, which is our alternative school. We have an online module as well, and then our partnership with Northwest Career Technical Academy. So I reflect on when I was going to school, those opportunities weren't possible. I think they are also hybrid situations where families can have homeschooling plus some public school academics. We have a wide range of AP classes. I know students who've graduated from Mount Vernon are proud to have done so, and the opportunities for them are great. Also with the business partnerships we've developed for different career pathways.
Thank you. All right, James, same question to you. Do you need me to read the question again?
No.
Okay.
Why should parents choose Mount Vernon Public Schools? It's a great question. It really is, because parents have choice. And acknowledging that they have choice means we need to, again, get to the root cause. Why are parents not choosing Mount Vernon Public Schools? I had every opportunity in my life, fortunate enough, to make that decision for myself. But I am a firm believer that we need the parents who can choose private school to be choosing public school. If all the people who can afford to move their kids to private schools are taking their kids out, we're losing funding for our schools, we're losing opportunities for the majority, and we're not making our community stronger. And so bridging this mindset of how do we get the most available and influential parents engaged with the system and hear them is how we get more students back and in our system. I think there's a disenfranchisement that whether justified or not, exists in our community. And again, it comes down to how do we communicate, when and what, to the parents in our district.
Thank you. And Christopher.
I don't bemoan anyone's choices as in terms of education, but I think also we ought to just lift up the high ethos of a public school. Public schools truly believe that we can educate everyone and that everyone deserves and has a right to a quality education. And I mean, a private school can pick and choose who they want. Public school says, we want all of you, and we will build a structure, and we will build curriculum, and we will support your child, no matter what their concerns are. If you have a special education, if you have an IEP, no matter what you have, we believe that each child, each student can succeed, and we build a structure that will meet that need. It's lots of people, it's lots of funds, it's lots of rules, but it's a high belief that every child deserves a high quality education. Parents can always choose, that's fine, but we should stop apologizing for public schools and the high standard of educating every child.
Thank you. Okay, and Sam?
Why should you choose Mount Vernon High School? Well, recently I've talked to various students that have recently graduated from Burlington, Cedar Woolley, and I talked to them about these opportunities that were given to me when I graduated, and how they're able to help me during college, paying books, paying classes, and they told me that they didn't have access to that. They're actually paying a lot more than me, and their financial state is a little worse, and I feel like I recommend, the experience you get from Mount Vernon High School and the experience you get in general from public school is great. I mean, you get these first-hand experience from teachers that recently started to become teachers. You get to see what they see. I mean, your life changes, and it's almost amazing, and you can't get that sense of experience or knowledge from a private school because it's all very straight. But with public schools like Mount Vernon High School, it's very ethnic. There's a lot of ethnic groups, very diverse.
Thank you. I want to say we're running a bit long. We appreciate everybody's patience, but I'm going to have one more question, then we're going to have a wrap up here.
Who starts this one?
This is going to be starting back here with Miss Wendy. Okay, Wendy? Yeah. The school district is facing, challenges from several different directions, compounded with shrinking enrollment, which we talked about just now. In such an uncertain and constrained environment, what would you suggest is necessary so that the necessary services are provided, strong staff retained, and a diverse student body receiving the education that's vital to their future success?
Oh, that's jam-packed.
That's why I saved it for the last.
Yeah.
For the last. A school board must be nimble right now. We are faced with lots of different dynamics regarding financial stability. I mean, it almost changes every day. And I want to assure the Mount Vernon residents that we look at our financials all the time. I think there was an era where maybe you started looking at the budget in April. That is no longer. When I talk about being nimble, you must look at how this affects your students first. You need to provide the best and greatest programs available to them so that they can learn in a safe, comfortable, welcoming environment. I think it's really important to develop those partnerships. It's a challenging thing, especially me as a fundraiser, to work within an environment where you have very strict financial guidelines. I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay, we're going to slide it down there to James.
Starting with the budget, which is key to all of this, is part of why I'm running. The largest budget I've professionally been responsible for is about $110 million a year when I was running Realtor.com's entire marketing analytics department. I learned there and at other companies how to account for every penny spent and the impact it had. I want to bring rigor, analytics, clean data in and clean data out, right, Victor? To everything we're doing here, right? It can't just be thinking and willing and hoping and listening. We have to get to the data. We have to get to the numbers. We have to have it analyzed in ways that are modern, prevalent with the tools available, and leveraging experience that knows how to manage data at this level. The only way we're ever going to bridge these gaps and be able to address the underlying problems hit by our funding is if we have a financial rigor and discipline needed to do so.
Great. And Christopher?
Yes. The biggest budget threat I see is not really from our enrollment, it's from Olympia. And so we don't control the size of the pie in the school district. That's an Olympia matter. And so we have to go to Olympia a lot and say, we need more funds. The things that you say as a state legislature that you're going to fund, you have to fund. So we took 40 people in a bus to Olympia this past January, sat down with all of our representatives and said, please do what you said you were going to do. And I believe that with all the chaos happening out of DC, that we have to really come together and unify and be on the same team. So we can't be pitting staff people versus staff people or teachers versus paras or whatever. We have to go to Olympia and say, you all are the keys to our financial stability. Otherwise, we have to make tough choices no one wants to make. So we really have to be firm believers in what we're doing, and we have to have good relationships, and we have to keep pressing the issue at Olympia. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sam?
Can you please repeat the question again?
Yeah. In such an uncertain and constrained environment, what would you suggest is necessary so that the services that are provided are, there are necessary services are provided, strong staff retained, and a diverse student body receiving the education vital to their future success?
Perfect. Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of action needs to be taken. Like, how the previous speaker has said, there's a lot of talk from Olympia, but I feel like we need to clean up our home first. We need to make sure these students aren't dropping out of school. We need to make sure they're not resorting to other things. Because, you get a certain money for each student that's in the school. And I feel like if we take care of our students in the school, we'll be okay. I feel like we're stretching out a little too thin instead of, getting organized here first, then reaching out to Olympia. But there's a lot of issues going on with our students, I feel like that's gone unheard, but, yes.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to go back to James. You're going to provide your 30-second closing.
Thank you for having me. I'm proud to be here in Mount Vernon, proud to be engaged in the community, excited to be running for this position, and I hope that my both personal, direct, and professional experience can come to the school board and help drive meaningful change for our students.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Chamber for having us, and I want to say thank you for listening to us. I'm running because I believe in the school district. I have kids in this school district, and I just believe in public schools as an ethos. I believe every student deserves a great education. I think we could provide it. Thank you.
I'm running for Mount Vernon School Board because I want change. I want the school board members to listen, respect, and truly represent each and every voice of student and staff. In the last 10 years, the readiness for college has dropped significantly. We've seen 2 strikes in the past 3 years as educators and paraeducators fought for promises that weren't kept, and while administrative received pay raises without question. This isn't fairness. This isn't not leadership. It's time for a school board that puts students and staff first.
Thank you. And Wendy.
Again, I'm proud to serve on the Mount Vernon School Board. Love your support in re-electing me. I am very excited about the strategic plan we have in place. There is lots of amazing teaching and learning going on in our schools, and I invite anyone that is interested, please call and we can make sure you see what's happening. Thank you so much, and thank you to the Chamber.
Well, thank you. And I want to say, I think we all owe you a round of applause because not only are you running for an elected office, but you're running for our future. And we appreciate that. Thank you very much.